Good evening. Welcome to the Gresham-Barlow Board of Education, Wednesday, December 18th, regular board work session. We will call to order, roll call, attendance, Chris Howard, Chair, Kathy Kinkley, Vice Chair. Absent is Blake Peterson. Absent is David Ligatich. Attendance is Holly Riegelman, Dr. Myra Gomez, Dr. Sean Parents. And joining us remotely, we have Superintendent James Hugh, and I can't see without my glasses. What else we got?
Donjola Jackson, Eric Newark, James Hugh, John Cook, and JPR. Who's JPR?
So is there a motion to approve the meeting agenda as presented? Make sure everybody knows that whenever it was you first saw it, what was added was the GBEA tentative agreement was added on December 18th. So is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I will talk about the agenda as presented.
Second.
Been moved by Myra, seconded by Kathy to approve the amended agenda. Any discussion about it? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. All right, any opposed? All right, we have an agenda. So the first item that we have up here is the GBEA tentative agreement added. So let me put my glasses on soon. So good evening, Superintendent Hugh, for one more day, for one more hour. Dr. Freeman and Dr. Klinger and Mr. Cook is playing. So there's Mr. Cook. All right. So who's presenting this tonight?
Dr.
Angela.
Freeman.
I'll be presenting proudly. Good evening, Chair Howard and members of the board. I get to deliver the good news that the Gresham-Barlow School District and the Gresham-Barlow Education Association have reached a tentative agreement for the July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2027. The tentative agreement was reached on November 18th, 2024. The East County Bargaining Council, or the ECBC, which reviews contract proposals to ensure that they match the norms established in other member districts, voted to support the ratification of the tentative agreement. And on December 17th, which was just last night, members of the GBEA also voted to ratify the agreement. And I would just personally like to thank Eric Nywert, who I think is watching tonight, and the members of his team for coming to the table very open, honest, and collaborative, as well as the members of the GBSD bargaining team who were very responsive and collaborative as well. Chair Howard, I'd like to thank you personally as well for being an excellent member of the bargaining team, always having the right things to say at the right time and a great perspective. And Superintendent Hugh, thank you so much for being a great leader of this district during negotiations and doing what's right for our kids and for our staff at all times. So at this point, I would like to ask the board to vote to approve the tentative agreement.
So are there any clarifying questions before we move to a motion to approve it? So any clarifying for Angela or any of the other team up there?
I did hear something about late start after winter break and spring break. Is that, so that's like, let's say the Monday, it would be a late start day for students. Teachers would arrive at their normal time or something like that.
Yeah, so it would mimic the same schedule that we currently have for Wednesdays, but it would fall on, in the agreement, they receive 2 additional late start days, which would mimic those schedules. The first one is the first day after winter break. This year it happens to fall on a Monday. Other years it may fall on a different day, but this year it's a Monday. And you would also have a late start on that Wednesday as well. So for January 6th, and January 8th, both would be late starts this year.
So given that our students go on break like in 2 days, what's the communication plan for families?
Good question. We have, once this is approved or decided on by you all tonight, we have communication ready to go out tomorrow morning to families. The general overall communication will be posted on the website. There'll be reminders going out from each school to families with the specific schedules for those schools. as well as reminders going out, I think 3 days before the 6th, 2 days before the 6th, there'll be phone calls that'll go out. We anticipated that this might happen, so we have a communication plan in place.
All I wanted to hear, thanks.
Okay, all right.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Is an action item, and there is a sample motion in there, if someone would like to make that
I'll
motion.
go.
Okay, go ahead, Kathy.
I move to approve the tentative agreement between the Gresham-Barlow School District and the Gresham-Barlow Education Association for July 1, 2024 through June 30, 2027.
And I will second, since I was on the bargaining team. So any other discussion about that? All right, so all those in favor?
I
Okay, good. Any opposed? No, because we're here. So we have a tentative agreement that now is an agreement.
Thank you so much. This is going to make a lot of people very happy.
Makes me very happy. And thank you again, Angela, your leadership in this, as well as Dr. Klinger and the entire team. It made this process work for everyone, and I'm very pleased to sit on the team. And this is a great agreement that we have, and looking forward to continuing to work with everyone. So
Thank you so much. Have a
All
great
right.
night.
thank you. So I think most of the people are going to be logging off at this point. Our next agenda item is the Superintendent Search Leadership Profile Report from HYA. So I believe Superintendent Hugh, unless you have any other words of wisdom, nope, he's gone. We're out. Okay. And I believe who's logging out on the side. Of course, this part doesn't matter. This is the so, okay, so, and we will have some cupcakes and treats and things at our January meeting, so that will be part of the celebration for the contracts. Got no cupcakes. So next on our agenda is Superintendent Search Leadership Profile Report. Hazard Young and Team Associates was hired by the board to assist in the recruitment and selection process for a new superintendent. They conducted a leadership profile assessment, gathering input from individual interviews and focus group settings. And the surveys, interviews, and focus group meetings were structured to output. And we are going to hear some of the output from that on the leadership profile report. So good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Good evening. Can you hear us okay?
Yes. Yep.
Great. Well, I'll go ahead and get things started. Well, first of all, congratulations on your new licensed teacher contract. That is a lot of hard work, having done that for many years. So congratulations to you, the board, and also the team that got that completed. That's very good news. I'm going to start by just introducing a little bit about what this report is all about and who it's for. The first thing I would say is that this report is for you, the board of directors, and it can be used simply as a really nice filter for your hiring. We heard from 200 voices, including your own, about the challenges of the district, the strengths of the district, and also the characteristics that you wanted to see. And this should be a really good guiding document for you as you think about the slate of candidates that we bring forward. It also is a great document for the candidates themselves. After the board decides on the slate of candidates, we will be sending this out to those candidates to say, here is the report that was published about our interactions while we were in the district. And it gives them a good perspective on what's going on in the district. It also allows them to really think about and evaluate their own skill set in relationship to what the Gresham-Barlow School Board might be looking for. It's also good for the public. The public will be reviewing this. It should be posted on your website as early as tomorrow so that everyone can see everything that was gathered and in complete transparency, what was said in all the different focus groups and in the interviews. It also will allow, and this is kind of unique and unusual to Gresham-Barlow, you have a new Board of Education configuration that will be coming in May, and actually as soon as January. This will allow the new Board of Education also to get grounded pretty quickly on what the communication coming from the community said about the challenges and the strengths and the characteristics of the new superintendent as well. This is an incredibly valuable document for the new superintendent that you actually hire. It gives them the opportunity to see, what was said in the community, and it provides them an opportunity to work with the Board of Education on maybe some of the things that surfaced within the report. And it might also be used as a springboard for goal setting and strategic planning with the new superintendent. You have 200 voices who've shared their perspectives on the school district, and there may be bits and pieces in there that the board want to tackle with the new superintendent to say, are there items within this report that we might want to pursue as within the strategic plan or within goal setting? So with that, what's in the report itself? Well, first of all, you probably all had a chance to read it as it was in your portal. It provides you a brief description of the school district and an executive summary, input from about 200 voices from varied stakeholder groups. By stakeholder group, you will see the strengths that they perceive that the district has, and it also provides the challenges by stakeholder group. And then each stakeholder group also provided us with characteristics that they wanted to see when you hire the new superintendent. Then towards the end, and we'll talk about this on page 20, it'll really give you an overview of really what are those highest level characteristics that we heard from all the different stakeholder groups, and that's on page 20, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. Also, within this, and Michael talk a little bit about this in a few minutes, is the HYA stakeholder survey results that we had 400 and some participants provide feedback to the district as well, and Michael walked through those results. And then at the very end of the report, you'll see all of the raw data that we collected. So what I'm going to do is, and this is just really for public consumption, is just provide you with a brief overview of one or two strengths from each stakeholder group, and then also a challenge, and then I'll walk you through the most relevant characteristics of the new superintendent. So if you take a look at the highlights of the Board of Education, for example, the strengths, this Board of Education kind of collectively told me that this is a very stable school district financially, and at the core of this school district is a community that supports the public school system. And another strength is that you have low turnover in your employees, your leadership, your teachers, and your classified employees. Collectively, the board talked to me about a challenge being internal communication and the speed of misinformation on social media. This is not just a Gresham-Barlow problem. This is a problem in every school district that we talk with. It is very difficult for internal communication to be factual and to work at the speed of social media and what's out there. So just know that that challenge is not unique to Gresham-Barlow. When I spoke to district and school administrators, they really spoke about the strength of the district and school leadership, principals, assistant principals, and the caring and competent teachers, and also the programs that have been established over the last few years. As an example, Career Tech Ed, and also the dual immersion program. The challenges that the administrators brought up were, again, not unique to Gresham-Barlow, but really they need the resources to support the diverse populations and the marginalized students. I think that leadership and administration and even the teachers, they know what to do. It's just that supporting such diverse populations takes additional resources. When we talk to the licensed teachers and classified staff, they are really fond of and believe that the Grow Your Own Teacher program is an incredible strength, along with the ability of the affinity group to continue to meet and just to talk about the challenges of the BIPOC community. And they believe that opportunity to meet is a real strength of the school district. And a challenge, they also brought up communication. They had a little different spin on it. It was more about proactive communication and issues surrounding equity as well. They feel that they're doing the right work around equity, but that will always continue to be a challenge of making sure the community understands exactly what equity means within the school district setting. When I spoke to the equity committee, their strength generally was really around recognizing and celebrating staff and student successes. They think the district does a very good job of that. And they believe a huge challenge that needs to be tackled is absenteeism and just the dysregulated student behavior that we really have seen escalate since the COVID years. When we spoke to the parent and community members, They really spoke about the alternative programs like Springwater Trail, the Ray Academy, CTE programs, the dual language immersion. They believe the district is really striving to be resourceful, using their resources to create alternative type programs that kids want to belong to. A challenge for the parents and community members was really around communication. There's lots of conversation in the community, and you're well aware of this, around school safety, and also student and social, emotional, and behavioral challenges as well. Just that dysregulated behavior that we're seeing across the nation. And so then what did the high school kids say? Again, the high school kids, they love the CTE programs. They love their counselors at the high schools. They believe that they're being prepared well for college. They believe they receive lots of support. And one of the things the high school kids actually called out was the newcomers program and the support that the school district gives and tries to provide for the newcomers to the community, which is great. What do they believe are the challenges? They too talked about communication, timely and accurate communication. And I think that really stems from some safety and security issues of the school that have recently surfaced. And then they too called out, they wished that there was more resources for students who were struggling, students who needed more support, and really talking about how do we help those kids that have been marginalized. So that's kind of at a glance, really, really high level, a lot more detail in the report about each subgroups, each stakeholder groups, kind of strengths and weaknesses. And then if you'll turn to page 20, if you actually have this report in front of you, on page 20 of the report, this is just a way that I put together what I believe were all of the characteristics that I heard from every single group in a really easy to view format. But I'd like to just pare that down to 4 key characteristics that I heard, and I think Mike heard, in every single group that we spoke to, including interviews with the Board of Education and district leadership. The first one would be communication. It came out in every single group, really around communication being timely and accurate and clear and transparent. And part of that is in competition with social media, which we all know is impossible, but just know that communication came up time and time again. The other characteristics that came up were the one around relationships, and that is they'd really like to see the new superintendent be involved, be visible. They want a compassionate leader, someone who's culturally competent and responsive to the diverse needs of the school district. So relationships was talked about in almost every single group. Student-centered, they want someone who cares and is concerned and is kind to students. They need someone that's involved with students. And without exception, everybody wants an instructional leader. They want someone who knows the teaching and learning cycle. They want this superintendent to be data informed and data driven. They want this superintendent to focus on student learning and closing the opportunity gaps for marginalized students. And everyone is well aware that there's a lot more to the superintendency than just being an instructional leader. But they absolutely, without exception, every group said, we need someone who knows student learning. And so that's my part at a glance. I'm happy to answer any questions, but we also might want to hear from Mike first, just about what the information that we gleaned from the HYA stakeholder survey. Mike?
I don't think he's here. Oh,
No. Hang on.
Did we lose Mike?
I'm promoting him again really quick. It looks like he.
Okay.
Now he's back in the.
Okay.
while we're bringing him in, I tried to find a place for kind of those 4 big ones that you were saying, but I might have missed it. Is it written in the report, like the 4 key characteristics?
I really, those 4 key characteristics that I just laid out for you, I really pulled out of that grid on page 20. I kind of looked at it, looked back at all my notes, and I'm like, what are the 4 top ones that are, so I didn't really list them in the report, but they're communication, relationships, student-centered, and instructional leader. And in almost every group, some way, shape, or form, those terms surfaced as the most important characteristics for the new superintendent. I mean, there were lots of words used, and you'll see a lot of those, but I would say those are the four most common.
Thank you.
You bet. Mike, sorry we lost you. It was just getting to the end of kind of the big report. And are you ready to talk about the stakeholder report?
I am, but just want to, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
So I'm in a hotel right now. My internet connection is terrible. I keep going in and out.
Okay.
So it pauses for like 10 seconds and it comes back. So it's really kind of weird. So just so you know that you might lose me, but I'm going to try to go quickly here.
Okay.
I'm on page 23 of the report. So when you look at the survey, the state of the district, and you can see the different subgroups with the vision and values, the teaching and learning, community engagement, and management. And there's a series of questions that go into each of those different categories, and it's kind of lumped into the different groups. And so the interesting um, piece about your report is if you look at the dots, you kind of want those dots close together so everyone's on the same page. But the administrators in your district seem to think that the district is running better than what some of the other stakeholders think. And so that's something that the new superintendent is going to want to look into just to kind of look at that. So normally, the administrators or the certified staff or licensed staff are a little bit further to the right than some of those other subgroups. And normally the parents, students, community don't quite think as highly of the district as the administrators or the licensed staff. So that's kind of a norm, but you want to see those dots a little bit closer together. When you get down to the profile summary, you can see the dots of the subgroups are much closer together. So everyone is more in tune to the same page when it comes down to that leadership profile. And then profile data. So, excuse me, there were, I think, 12 or 13 different questions that each the classified staff, community, licensed staff, and parents, you can kind of see what their top four leadership profile details were. And you got a couple that are very close. And again, it just gives you an idea of what they're thinking. I really like on the next page, I like how you can go to each of those questions then, and you can see the percentage of each group of what they think. So what you want to look for here is you want to look, is there any discrepancy amongst those percentages when it comes down to the different groups or the different themes that they have. And so when you look at the overall, the quality of the education across the district, again, you'll note that the administrators were at 64%, and then the licensed staff was at 19%. So there's a big difference. And how they came up with those percentages, they either scored a 4 or a 5. So they either strongly agreed or agreed with those attributes. So again, if you just kind of go through and look at the different questions, look at those percentages. And then on the next page, it's the same thing. It's just with that profile, that leadership profile analysis, looking at those percentages, which ones are close together, which ones are further apart. And typically the leader profile, the groups are closer together than the state of the district. The state of the district in almost every single survey the district. So overall, this information should be very helpful for the new superintendent and help you get to that next level of achievement across your district. So any questions on the survey? I'm paranoid I'm going to lose you. Any questions on the survey?
Yeah, Mike, you've cut out a couple of times. I think we got the gist of it, but now might be an opportunity for the board to ask any questions that where you popped out. So the board will open it up to you to ask any questions that you might have about the process, about the data that we collected, the report, or the survey.
Mike, I have a question. On page 26, the leadership profile analysis, this is one area where you cut out a little bit. You said the groups are usually closer together here. And what was the rest of that?
Yeah, so when you compare the state of the district, the groups are usually further apart. But then when you get to that leadership profile analysis, the groups are normally closer together. And so that's what they really want from that new superintendent compared to how the district is going with is the other one.
Okay. The other question is, the communication clearly is an issue across the board. And it sounds like both what is being communicated and how timely. Is part of the, where the administration has a higher safety, for instance, and, teachers or students have a lower one, could some of that separation be because of the lack of communication, that the lower ranking groups aren't aware of some of the things that the administrators are?
I'd say absolutely yes. And remember, communication is tricky in every school district across this nation, and that is um, most communities and many parents and many community members, they're not looking at much of the communication until they think they need something, then they go search for it. So it may be that the communication is there, but they didn't get it when they thought they should have gotten it, even though it was available. So this is really perception data. I think that district office administrators and school administrators are very aware of the communication coming out of central office, because that's a very primary job, is to they make sure what's going on, that they're communicating out to their community. So I would say that the perception is that we don't have enough communication, but then how do you fix that is a huge challenge, because you can ramp up many different waves of communication, and it may or may not change that outcome of people thinking that the communication just isn't there, but it may well be.
Well, and the other concern, I guess, is it just communicating better? Or are some people perceiving like, absent the lack of communication, they would not feel as safe? It just isn't as safe. Not that that's probably not a good example, but just to pick one. There's gonna be a real need, I guess, to discern, is it just communication, or is there a real divergence in expectation?
So this is a great point. If I was a new superintendent coming into Gresham-Barlow and I saw that communication in almost every focus group and interview was brought up, it would be a place to really dive deep. Like, okay, what's really going on here? Is it how we communicate? Is it when we communicate? Districts don't communicate when they don't have all the facts. So is it because they're the community expects you to beat social media? I think that if I was a new superintendent, I would delve into all of that to figure out, so what is the issue? And how can we help solve it, and bring some people together to help solve this? So that's the power of this particular report, is to kind of identify with that gap and then explore it more deeply.
Thank you.
So this may be a question for, as we are looking through the applications or whatever, but thinking about the interview process, will you guys help develop interview questions that kind of?
Sean, we're gonna.
Oh, you're gonna
do
talk about that?
That's all separate from this, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a plan for you, an executive session that we will share.
I guess the only thing I maybe to touch on is, in reading through it, our participation wasn't as robust as we would have liked. But, and I just to acknowledge that, but that you feel like you got a true, read on the district and from each group, that you had enough participation from each group. Is that a true statement?
I would say that participation was extremely low. We had several sessions where no one showed up. However, those groups that did show up, and the information that we gleaned and the input that they provided was outstanding when we had people there. That's what I would say. So the quality of input was very good. I would have loved to see double the number of participants. It just, for us in gathering that kind of data, I think it's better. It provides a better perspective, but I don't think that anything in the report would necessarily change that significantly. I think that we got a pretty clear picture from those who did show up. Mike, what would you say?
Yeah, you're spot on. And
Oh, Mike froze again.
because it's easier for people to do the survey from home or from their workspace versus coming to a face-to-face focus group.
Yeah.
Well, and it also, I think speaks to the communication part,
Yeah,
Mhm.
true.
So would be something really, hands-on and tangible to evaluate the process and
Mhm.
see where the holes were
Yeah.
in a communication, delivery model.
So I think we were supposed to do a separated survey for students by high school. And that would give us an idea of like, what does Gresham High School students think, or Barlow? Were we able to get enough data to kind of have that, or?
Mike, you want
Yes,
to?
I will, but if I break up here, you're gonna have to kind of finish my preview.
Okay.
So if you go into your portal, there are 8 surveys actually. There's
Looks like we lost Mike again. So the bottom line on the high school surveys is we had very, very poor participation at Gresham High School and Ray Academy. We had 0. And then at Springwater Trail, we had just like 7. We did have a pretty significant number of kids. I think it was over like 119. I think it's in the report that took it at Sam Barlow High School. So really the comparing and contrasting of these different high school perceptions is really not accurate at all. We were very disappointed in being unable to get kids to take it. We were hopeful that the kids would take the survey in like an advisory or a study hall or first period or whatever. And it looks like the only school that really pulled it off. And even Sam Barlow, it's a relatively low number given what we've seen in other relatively large comprehensive high schools. So the high school data is really, it is what it is. You have all of the student comments that were available. The comments that are given are good. It's good input, good feedback. It's just not enough for us to kind of make compare and contrast amongst the schools. I will tell you one thing that that Mike found out and maybe Mike, you could speak to this unless you break up again, is what the kids at Sam Barlow High School felt about kind of the tension that is between the two comprehensive high schools, and they don't like it. They spoke in a very articulate way that they care very much about their friends, close friends at Gresham High School, and they don't like it that the community, in some ways, negatively compares the two schools for a variety of reasons. And sometimes Sam Barlow comes out on the back end of that in a negative way, and sometimes Gresham does. And the kids at both high schools that we interviewed, they don't like that perception of the community that somehow one school is better than the other school, or that one school does something better than the other school. That is really, I would almost say that they feel hurt by that, which was, I think, very perceptive of them.
Yeah, I think they want to come together,
Yep.
as one. So that would be something again, and we can certainly talk to that new superintendent about that as well.
Yeah.
So I wanted to just kind of, while we're still talking a little bit about high schools and things, and certainly there was an incident that was occurring at the time that was high in people's mind. But I would like, as we move forward and as you're talking with candidates and helping us do that, Springwater Trail High School is not an alternative high school. It is a small comprehensive high school that kids apply to attend. So making sure that that's very clear. And then also Ray Academy is a more alternative learning environment that also pulls in students that are not just from Gresham-Barlow, but they may be from other schools within Multnomah County that have had difficulty finishing their school And so then can come and apply to be part of the grant. So it's just a little bit of a difference there. Springwater Trail is just a small comprehensive. And so making sure that it is not an alternative school in any way, shape, or form.
I will say this about the high school kids focus groups. We had really good participation at all four high schools. I actually had the opportunity to speak with all 40 or 50 of the kids at Ray, and maybe that kind of deterred them from actually filling out the survey. I don't know. But we did have really good, thoughtful, and reflective feedback from all of the high school kids at each one of the programs. So the focus groups went well for high school kids.
I just, regardless of, the participation at certain levels, I just think the value, because I did go read a lot of the comments, the actual responses to the questions, and it is insightful. And so whatever information we have, I think it's going to be valuable going forward, especially for the ultimate new superintendent. And I just want to say I really appreciate the time and effort. I think it's just really invaluable.
There's a lot in there to talk about for sure.
All right, next. Any other questions about this? No? So what's next?
Go into the executive session.
Are we-
All there is.
Is that all there is on that?
There, that's all there
I
is.
wasn't sure if there was
Yeah.
more that they were actually going to present for this.
Anything else you guys on the report? That's all.
Just that it should be posted tomorrow at your earliest convenience on the district website under the superintendent search section.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
All right, so are they,
We'll see you in executive session. We have a separate link.
right, yeah, right, okay, all right.
So you still need to announce the executive session.
Yeah, I just don't know where on to do it. Get any more food or not. Okay, you get to this point. All right, we'll be moving into executive session to consider employment of a public officer under ORS 192.660, paren 2, paren A. Gresham-Barlow School District Board of Directors will now meet in executive session for the purpose of discussing the public to consider employment of a public officer. Executive sessions are closed to the public. Representatives of the news media and designated staff will be allowed to attend. All other members of the audience are asked to leave the room. Representatives of the news media are specifically directed not to report on any of the deliberations during the executive session, except to state the general subject of the session as previously announced. No decision may be made in executive session. And do we have any media that have requested? Okay, all right. Okay, we're back in. All right, welcome. We are back into regular session. We only have a little bit more left to go in the meeting for the December 18th, Gresham-Barlow Board of Education work session. We have future board agenda topics, and we've been going through the content that people have been putting into the spreadsheet and putting those out onto meetings where it fits in, either where it fits in with other content. I don't have that up here right now, so I will get that out to you guys. Tracy and Kathy and I worked on that to make sure that we had things scheduled out or that they were checked off because we've already discussed them. And I don't know if we have anything else that's gonna be put on. The entering things into the spreadsheet seems to be working, for folks where they entered in. Give us a little bit of information. I know I need to contact Blake about one of the ones that he had in there because I need to get some more information about what he was looking for. So otherwise, that seems to be working, and then we can put it out during times when we know we're already gonna be discussing that particular area. We also have tonight, I took the classes. Here. So we didn't quite make it at the meeting, yeah, I think it's January, at the December meeting, but this is your last meeting. It's because I do. We have a couple of things for you.
Oh, boy.
I know. But because the way the meeting went today, so on behalf of Gresham-Barlow Board of Education and the superintendent, you get a golden. Very nice. So it's thank you. Gentlemen. So that is a special. You have to wear it first. And then we also have, not sure what this is. This is.
Oh, one, the other.
And then also, it's actually not a master teacher. It's a local for everyone else to see. It's a plaque that you too can get one.
Not even finish your phone.
To honor your service to the board, Kathy Keithley, they spelled it right, Gresham-Barlow School District Board of Directors, 2021, 2024. Thank you for your 3 years of very dedicated service.
Yeah.
Kathy, good luck on the city council.
Yeah, when is the swearing in? You gonna show up for that?
I don't know,
Or
is
is that just in the?
plaque that nice when you're done?
Yeah.
What's that?
So I don't know if you're gonna plaque that nice when you're done. with the city
You
council.
probably not.
It's when is the
January 7th at 6.
January 7th at 6 P.M.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't know about that. January 7th. Do we get to bring like noisemakers and stuff?
It's a public meeting, so.
Awesome. Although we don't want to set an example. Other
All
part.
right.
Yeah, I'm surprised your daughter's class didn't come to make sure you voted for the.
Yeah, yeah,
I said, "It's your birthday. You wanna come sit with me at the meeting?" She's like, "Oh,
yeah, yeah.
what time will I be at, Elisa?
6 P.M.
Six. Yeah.
Yep, yep. Okay, and that works out. Well, of course, because we won't be using the same chamber. All right, so we're down to, closing items. December 21st, 2024 through January 5th, 2025 is winter break. There will be no board meetings. And as we just approved in the, bargaining agreement, the first Monday back after winter break will be a late arrival, and that notice will be going out to families via lots of notification. And then we will have a regular board business meeting at 7 p.m. in the council chambers, Public Safety and Schools Building on January 8th, 2025. We will be seeing you all maybe in and out, but have a pleasant holiday time, a happy new year, and we will see you January 8th, 2025. Thank you. We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Okay.
You got it.